Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the October 2023 Charter Chat. Next slide, please. Before we go over the agenda, I wanted to remind everyone of a little Zoom etiquette. If you would please take a look at your screen and make sure that you're muted, we would very much appreciate that. There will be opportunities for you to unmute and ask questions, but in the meantime, we'd like you to stay muted. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we will try to stop along the way and answer them. This session, as you heard, is being recorded. We will only be recording in the main room. We will not be recording in breakout rooms, and we will be doing breakout rooms by region today. So now for the agenda, we are going to just be reminded of what's on our parking lot. We will review some questions from the field or from the September Charter Chat. We'll have an update on the budget trailer bills from Brianna Garcia. And then we'll have some other legislative updates. And then for our hot topics, we will talk about the comprehensive school safety plan again, the LCAP mid-year updates, Prop 39 process, first interim, and audit reports. Next slide, please. So just quick introductions. I'm Nifala Fairley. I'm the Executive Director of the Charter Schools Department. The rest of our team includes Dr. Michelle Johnson, Matt Doherty, Shalu Sharma, and Cynthia Tapia. Next slide, please. Our partners in this work are the California Charter Authorizing Professionals. Today we have representing CCAP, Dr. Dave Patterson and Brianna Garcia, President and Treasurer, respectively. Additionally, we have our partner here from CDE, Allison. Allison, thank you. And exciting new addition for us today is Susan Park, who is the new director for CDE's Charter Schools Division. Before joining the CDE team, Susan was a charter authorizer and operator at San Diego Unified School District, O'Farrell Charter School, and High Tech High. Susan has worked as an attorney, a special education director, compliance officer, and a Title I coordinator. Susan, are you here and would you like to share a few words? Well, she will be joining us at some point today, I believe. So we'll give her a few seconds a little later. Next slide, please, Babe.
Okay. Well, good morning from sunny and beautiful downtown Oakland, where I'm at the National Association of Charter School Authorizers Conference, the NACSA conference. I'm happy to say that so far it's been pretty exciting. We hope to have later in our charter chat a welcome and a hello and a little update from David Greenberg, who's the Vice President of Authorizer Learning and Development. And we were hoping that Kariga Rausch, the CEO and president, could actually spend half a second for us, but this morning said, guess what? He's running a national conference and doesn't quite have, wasn't able to sneak it in, got pulled to something else. So we will be talking a little bit about what's happening at NACSA. There's a lot of great things happening here. And I guess the thing that I would just mention, you know, we have a lot of great stuff happening in California. We've got a lot of great authorizers, but it's really neat to be together with authorizers from across the country. While the fundamentals are the same, how we all do it and how it works, and the neat ideas that people have to help solve some of the problems or deal with the challenges that we all face. It's really exciting to be part of those conversations. So if you're not here this time, maybe next time.
Great.
Next slide.
So I'm going to ask Allison, is Susan Park here yet?
Yes, I believe that she is.
Okay.
So yeah, Susan, if you're there, you want to say hi? It might be that she's not able to come off mute right now. I'll check in with her.
All right, sounds good. All right, so On the parking lot, we still have a few items that we're still working on and have not forgotten. Next slide, please. All right, back to you, Dave.
Okay, well, the update here is just last week, on October 20th, we had a great training session on charter school governance oversight. And I guess the two or three things that I would mention if you weren't there, and because the training is recorded and all the materials. First, we talked about how charter school boards live in two worlds. They are clearly public entities. They have the same sets of responsibilities for things like Board Act and transparency and a whole host of other things, but they also live in a nonprofit world, and there's some rules for that also. So we spent some time with that. The overall emphasis is that, you know, the buck stops here, the here being the board itself. And sometimes as authorizers, we don't always recognize or engage him as much as we should, because yes, the charter ED is an important person, him or her, but frankly, the board also needs to be there. We did spend some time on hands-on activities to help make the work real. And there's a whole rich list of resources. I suggest you look at the resource page on the CASI site for resources for some of the workshop. And it's my understanding we just posted all that information just yesterday. Back to you.
Thank you. Actually, next slide, and it's still you.
Then let me do the next thing, which is to move my piece ahead so I actually can see it. Okay. So yes, the next slide is me. There's some questions that we're able to take a bit of a response to. The first one is about how are authorizers overseeing student immunization records? And in this case, SCOE, Santa Clara County Office of Education, provided their feedback about how they pull random cumulative records, which includes the health records and immunization records during their annual visits, and reviews the documents to ensure compliance with all applicable requirements for that. The second question there was about credentialing. And how are authorized notified if a credential is revoked or suspended? And of course, that goes back to the CTC, the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing, and they publish a list of revoked or suspended credentials. And you'll see the information that will provide you, because it's not like you can just automatically take a look at that. That stuff is, in fact, has some confidentiality with it. Authorizers can add themselves to the listserv where that information is provided. And we give you information about how you, in fact, need to request that information, because, and I guess the key point there is that the information, the request has to come from the HR director or the superintendent's work email. So on this one, you actually have to work with some of your colleagues, including potentially up to the superintendent's office, to in fact make that request. Those are the two updates we've got there. Now it's back to
Yes,
you.
back to me. All right. So this is something that we do every meeting. We've made one slight change, and so I just want to go over it one more time, because I know a number of us have been used to adding a number in front of our names. We're not doing that anymore, but we would like you to rename yourself. Please make sure that you have your first and last name followed by the name of your organization. Okay, so we'll be doing breakout rooms by region, northern, central, and southern regions. And if you are not a district or county office staff, you will be placed in the non-authorizer partner breakout room. And so I guess you can put non-authorizing partner, or no, put the name of your organization, and we will make sure you get into the correct room. And could someone please drop into the chat just a reminder of how to rename yourself? Next slide, please. Michelle.
All right, so I get to talk about the legislative update. By October 14th, the governor took action on all the bills which had been passed by both houses of the legislature. You can see that on some of the items that we have been looking at, AB 1604 was vetoed. SB 10 was signed and approved. Next slide. SB 274 was also signed. And as all of these are, oh, you went one too far. And as all of these have been signed and they are non-urgency bills, they take effect on January 1st, 2024.
274 is two slides.
274 is the next one.
One more slide.
Oh, okay. So SB 7, so there are also two others that took effect, SB 760 and AB 1078. Those two, one of the 1078 is in regards to instructional materials and diverse curriculum and diversity. This law ends book banning in California and takes effect immediately. This one actually is due to the urgency clause. It requires a supermajority vote from school boards to ban a book in schools and imposes fines on school boards. The last item that I'm going to be talking about is just SB 141, and I am going, a couple of questions came up, and I now get to introduce our special guest, Brianna Garcia, and she's going to take it away from here.
Thank you, Michelle. So I understand that there were some questions with regards to transitional kindergarten and how that played out, you know, the teacher ratios, et cetera. And so I grabbed some slides from some various presentations that we put together in order to kind of walk you through those, and hopefully it'll answer those questions. So next slide. So big picture, as you all know, California is moving towards universal transitional kindergarten. And it's been a gradual build up to this. So for this year, LEAs are required to admit 4-year-olds who turn 5 between September 2nd and April 2nd. And so for charter schools, they are required to offer transitional kindergarten if they're offering kindergarten. So if it's a school that's not offering kindergarten at all, then this is not a requirement for them. But for those that are, they do need to follow these same parameters that school districts are following with regards to universal transitional kindergarten. I included on the right-hand side a link to CDE's FAQs on transitional kindergarten because they are really comprehensive, and most of the stuff that I'm going to be going through, if you have those questions, if you click through those FAQs, they will answer them and have information for them, but put them together for you in pretty slides. So next slide. So it was the 2021 Budget Act that established the universal TK. And the idea is that all 4-year-olds will be in transitional kindergarten at the 25-26 school year. This year, in the 22-23 enacted budget, they actually included this concept of early enrollment TK students. And so what that results is that there's really 3 categories where you're going to find the TK students. So LEAs are funded for TK students that are eligible per the law, which is the slide that I showed you before. Any student that's turning 5 between September 2nd and April 2nd is a TK student, and your charter schools will receive full funding for that. The second category are these expanded TK students. So if you have a student that doesn't turn 5 within that window, but will turn 5 by June 2nd, then you can include those students in TK. They are not counted for ADA or unduplicated pupil count purposes, except for a small window, and I'll talk about that on the next slide. And then the third category are these new early enrollment TK students. And so these are students that will not, or that don't turn 5 until June 3rd through September 1st. And again, you can admit these students. There's some other requirements that we'll go through, but you are not counting these students at all for funding. So you're providing that education to get them in the door and provide those services for the community, but they are not counted for ADA or funding purposes. Next slide. So these early TK students, I mentioned that there's, two things. For the expanded TK students on the left-hand side, there's this small window where if you are admitting those students and they turn 5 between April 3rd and April 12th, you actually do have a small window where you can get funding for those kids. And that's a very small window because the law right now says, any kid through April 2nd is already counted. And April 15th is the end of the second principal apportionment period when they're collecting enrollment information. And the way that the school months and school weeks work, it's the Friday before that last day. And so that's why you have that 3 through 12. If you have any of those expanded TK students, you actually can get funding for a very small period of time for them. For these early enrollment kids, you have to keep a few things in mind, and I'm not going to go through each one of these, but the slide in the middle lays out the requirements with regards to how or what requirements have to be met in order for those students to be included. But if early enrollment kids are included in TK for both this year and next year, 23-24 and 24-25, then the LEA is going to have to report to the CDE the number of TK teachers that didn't meet these additional requirements that are noted in order to be eligible to educate the students in those classrooms. Next slide. So this provides you with a little bit of a breakdown with regards to the difference in those expanded TK students and those early enrollment TK students. The way that the law is written for those expanded TK students, the governing board is the one who determines whether or not it's in the best interest of the students with approval from their parent or guardian in order to start TK early, quote unquote, because they're outside of that statutory window that we're meeting. In order to be in line with the statute for these classes and your regular TK classes, there's an average class size maximum of 24 students and a ratio of 12-1. So 12 students per employee. And so in this case, if you had a class of 24 students, you'd have to have at least 2 adults in that classroom. And adults doesn't necessarily mean that they both have to be certificated staff. So you can have one certificated staff person and a paraprofessional, for example. They do have to be employees of the LEA, but they don't both have to be certificated teachers. On the early enrollment side, as I mentioned, you have to report the number of TK teachers in the classrooms with those early enrollment students who haven't obtained that additional requirement. And the difference to keep in mind with the early enrollment students, while on the regular TK and expanded TK side, they're looking at average class size maximums. If a classroom has an early enrollment TK student, then the class size, not an average, each class size has to be 20 students, and then the ratio drops to 10-1 instead of 12-1. And so less kids in the class, and that ratio for the number of adults to teachers actually goes down. Next slide. So when you're looking at your grade span adjustments and your class sizes, we're not looking at special day classes. Those are an entity unto themselves. What we're talking about are TK classes, which again, for this year and next year have this 12-1 ratio. All TK is dropping to that 10-1 ratio beginning in 25-26 when it is fully implemented. Again, any TK classes that have early enrollment kids for these 2 years are dropping to 10-1 this year and next year before everyone else drops to 10-1. And keep in mind that if you or one of your charter schools has combination classes, where you're educating, third and fourth graders, for example. If you have third graders, they count as far as that grade span adjustment. And so they have to meet those requirements as if it was all third graders. And so for anyone that has those combination classes, you want to make sure that if you're going to mix those lower grades with those 4th through 6th grade, that you're keeping in mind that you actually have more stringent requirements, even though you have older kids in that as well. Next slide. And so there are penalties for not meeting these requirements. So on the classroom ratio side of the house, as I mentioned, you have to maintain a school site average across all of the classes on a school site of 12:1 this year. Failure to meet that ratio means that you're jeopardizing potentially those additional TK add-on dollars that were provided on a per ADA rate that was part of LCFF. And for 23-24 and 24-25, again, if you have those early enrollment kids, that ratio drops to 10:1 and you still have to meet those requirements. Class size wise, again, regular TK, you're maintaining a school site average classroom of 24 students. Failure to meet that requirement jeopardizes all of the funding that you generated through the TK grade span adjustments, that per ADA rate that's being provided. And once again, that maximum drops to 20 if a classroom has early enrollment kids. And then lastly, for teacher qualifications, there was an extension in the law as part of this year's budget. Prior to this, all teachers had to meet the credentialing qualifications for those that are assigned to TK by August 1st of 2023. And the 23-24 enacted budget actually expanded that to, the 23-24 enacted budget expanded that or delayed that implementation to August 1st, 2025. So you have another 2 years before you have to meet that requirement. But failure to meet that requirement, again, will jeopardize the TK funding that's provided for students within those classrooms. So keep that in mind. Ultimately, the maximum penalty is losing all of the TK add-on that's part of the base, that's part of the grants, your K-3 GSA and your TK add-on. So for a lot of LEAs, that is a substantial amount of money. And so you want to make sure that you are having those conversations with your charter schools, that you're meeting all of these requirements. Last slide or next slide. And so this slide, I just wanted to point out, I mentioned before, but wanted to really emphasize the fact that for TK, excluding those early enrollment students, you're looking at maximum class sizes of 24 students per class and ratios of 12:1. And that's based on an average of the class sizes at a school site. So every month you're keeping track and you're actually going to average that out by school sites. For any classes that include those early TK students, that maximum class size drops to 10:1, no more than 20 kids in the class. And they're looking at that class by class. So they're not averaging across a school site. Each class has to maintain that ratio in order to be eligible to receive those funding or not have those penalties assessed. And so it's really important that LEAs are keeping track of the number of students in the classroom. They're going to be checking on a monthly basis, but you just want to keep looking at that regularly as students are added or subtracted and make sure that you're meeting those requirements. Because as I noted on the prior slide, that's a lot of money that you'll be leaving on the table or that you'll be giving back if you're not meeting all of those requirements. And so with that, I saw that there are some questions up out of the corner of my eye that were popping up. I don't know if they have been answered, so I'm happy to answer any questions on those.
All right, so the first question came in. Are charter schools required to serve TK?
Charter schools are not required to serve TK. if they are not providing, are not required to serve TK students, they provide that service as an option. There's a lot of them, just like school districts. If you have kindergarten students, you're also pulling in those TK students, especially if you're going to be earning ADA for them, but it's not a requirement for charter schools.
So if a charter school does choose to provide TK, they now have to comply with all of these rules, correct?
If they are providing or enrolling TK, they have to meet all of these requirements.
All right, so just to confirm, the 10-to-1 ratio for TK with early enrollment is effective now and not based on an average.
Correct.
What documentation is required for TK teachers? And will that information be reported to CalSAS?
The information that's required is laid out, the Education Code 48,000 provides what the requirements are, but I don't believe it lays out, submit this document, that document, or this document. So that one I would have to get back to you as to who it is that requires it and what it is that actually has to be submitted to prove that.
Okay.
I will make a note.
How does this apply to non-classroom based charter schools?
So, sorry, Margaret, these ratios, you know what, I'm going to have to, I believe it's just for based on physical classrooms, but actually, I'm trying to remember if I saw anything in any of the legislation or the Ed Code that made a distinction between classroom-based and non-classroom based. So let me check that as well.
Okay. How will class size be monitored for compliance for funding?
That is going to be part of the audit. And so you're going to be keeping track of that. And your auditor is actually going to be doing checks to make sure that you're meeting those requirements.
Okay. And those were all of the questions that were in the chat.
Okay, Michelle, you're going to talk about State Board and Advisory Commission.
So I will, but at this moment, Susan Park is here and is now able to say hi.
Great.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Sorry for the audio difficulty in the beginning. My name's Susan Park. I'm the new Charter Schools Division Director at CDE, started on October 2nd. It sort of feels like a secret at the moment, but feel free to tell all your friends. And joining a wonderful team that many of you know, and really excited to see so many familiar names and faces in the CASI chat. Have attended these as an authorizer in the past for San Diego Unified, and have also been fortunate enough to wear a charter operator hat over at High Tech High, O'Farrell, and Ingenuity Charter Schools. So classroom-based, non-classroom-based, DAS, project learning. If there was a K-12 component, I've had the pleasure of working on it from Title IX to special education to Charter Schools Act. So hello. If you have a question, I know there's a wonderful team of people that you can ask, and I hope you'll put me on your short list of people at CDE who's happy to join the dialogue. So thanks.
Thank you for joining us.
All right, next slide. So I get to talk about the State Board of Education updates. The ACCS was canceled on October 3rd. The next meeting will be December 5th. The State Board will be meeting on November 8th and 9th. So at this moment, there's nothing to report. Next slide.
Okay, and so for those of you who may have joined us a little late, oh, wait, I think I'm missing something. Can you back up one slide, please? Oh, okay, never mind. We're moving on to hot topics. And first on the list is Matt.
Okay, thank you. So the following, we're going to talk about comprehensive school safety plans as an update to the information we shared at September's CASI Charter Chat. So Education Code 47605C5F requires each charter school to develop a safety plan, including all the topics listed in Ed Code 32282A, 2A through J. And for that charter school to review and update its plan by March 1st each year. It's considered a best practice for authorizers to require their charter schools to share their safety plan after March 1st of each year, and then to review that the safety plan includes all the topics listed in Ed Code. The notice requirements under Ed Code section 32288 are not extended to charter schools. So that's just to update what we shared in September. Moving on to the LCAP mid-year template or mid-year update. So the first question is, what are the requirements for the mid-year update to the LCAP? And all charter schools, school districts, and county offices of education are required to present a report on the annual update to the LCAP and the LCFF budget overview for parents on or before February 28th of each year at a regularly scheduled meeting of their governing board or body of the LEA. The mid-year template or the mid-year report must include the following: all available mid-year outcome data related to metrics identified in the current year's LCAP, and all available mid-year expenditure and implementation data on all actions identified in the current year's LCAP. And then question then comes up, is there a required template for the mid-year update? No, there is no requirement for LEAs to use any particular template. It's up to the LEA to determine how to present and report the required information to their local governing board or governing body. And finally, will the mid-year update report be included in the LCAP? No, the mid-year update does not need to be included in the LCAP itself, but the information presented may inform the development of the following year's LCAP. So this may then be discussed in some of those sections at the beginning, including summarizing and the process for that. So it becomes one more component that you can include in those discussions. Next slide, please.
All right, so I get to talk about Prop 39. Questions have been coming up with regards to the charter school use of district facilities, which is actually the new terminology. We all know it and love it as Prop 39. This is still a year-long process. By November 1st, for the following year, a charter school needs to submit its request. Throughout the year, you go back and forth through the process, and final offer and acceptance occurs by May 30th. Charter schools must have at least 80 students from the school district in order to request facilities. Facilities must be the reasonably equivalent to other facilities in the district. So regardless of what is going on with LAUSD, the process has not changed. And next slide.
Cynthia and Shalou.
Thank you, Mithila. So for fiscal hot topics, we want to highlight 2 upcoming deadlines, beginning with the first interim. Charter schools' first interim reports are due to the Chartering Authority and the County Office of Education by December 15. As a reminder, for first interim, charter schools are required to report their financials through the period ending October 31st. And for those authorizers that provide charter schools a first interim reporting template, this is a great time to review those templates for any formatting changes or even data collection changes. And now to Shalou to talk about the second deadline.
Sure. Thank you, Cynthia. So we want to highlight the audit report according to Education Code 41020H. The charter school annual audit report is due to CDE, State Controller, and Chartering Authority by December 15. As a reminder, now is the time to browse through your high-risk school in your portfolio to look at the board meeting agendas for the upcoming meetings about audit updates, audit extension, and having that early conversation on the next step. Please note that state does not grant extension for charter school audit. The charter school must request extension through the chartering authority, and the chartering entity notifies CDE and state controller of the extension. Next slide, please.
Okay, so we're going to move into breakout rooms now. And hopefully everyone has renamed themselves, but as a quick reminder, for those who joined late, we would like to see your name followed by the name of your organization. So if you haven't done that and you're participating in breakout rooms, please do that right now. So just to share with you all, if you are a room host, please grab the Jamboard link right now before moving into breakout rooms. And when you get into your breakout rooms, hosts, please keep the introductions to a minimum. Maybe just have new folks to the group introduce themselves. You can do it however you want, but we don't want to spend the whole time doing introductions. We want to have folks have an opportunity to ask questions and discuss issues. Our room host for today, in the northern region, we have Amanda Goldman from Sacramento City Unified School District, or Sacramento City School District, Unified School District, joined by Michelle and Cynthia. And in the central region, we have Jason Murphy from Stockton Unified, joined by Mifala and Matt. And in the southern region, we have Marlo from Ventura County, joined by Shalou and Allison, and Dave will be with our non-authorizer partners. So this is an opportunity for you to follow up on something that was covered earlier this morning, ask questions or share with your colleagues. All right. I believe, Amy, that we are ready whenever you are. Thanks for participating in the breakout rooms and welcome back. I'm going to consult with our team for just a second. So, Dave, we have David Green, our guest from NACSA here, and I'm wondering, do we want to have him say a few words before we do our breakout room debrief? Is Dave Patterson back yet? Okay, well, let's do the debrief. David Patterson.
Well, first, I'm wondering if our visitor from NACSA is able to join us. If
Yes.
David Greenberg is there.
Yep.
Why don't we do a quick David Greenberg introduction and ask for him to talk a little bit. David, I'm assuming you're out there. Welcome. I've already told people we're enjoying NACSA at wonderful sunny downtown Oakland, and but if you could talk a little bit about how you're joining us and how what we do and the work you do is so aligned and so powerful. I appreciate it.
Yeah, hi Dave, and hi everyone. I don't know if my connection is a little rough, or you guys hearing me okay?
We're hearing you fine.
Okay, looks like I might be a little unstable. Well, thank you for having me, and I don't want to interrupt the flow. I know you guys don't have a lot of time and want to debrief, but really happy to be here. My name is David Greenberg. I am the Vice President of Authorizer Learning and Development at NACSA, the National Association of Charter School Authorizers. We're actually hosting our annual conference here in Oakland, downtown Oakland. So really happy to be here, and I've met some of your colleagues here in person. And I'm sure many of you know of our organization, and just want to share a couple things. Number one, we're here to support, and I'm so appreciative. I'm from Minnesota, and having been an authorizer in Minnesota, the best resources are often each other, right? So what you guys do monthly, Dave and Tom and others who lead this group and help bring you all together. Yeah, you don't need me to tell you how valuable it is and how important it is. So lean on each other. And I know Dave and Tom and Alex and others have a lot of resources to support you. We do as well, and always willing to be a resource to help also connect you with folks nationally, to just give you more perspective, right? The California context is, of course, very unique, and as it is in each state, and we can learn from each other across state lines as well. So check out, I'll throw our website in the chat. But yes, always, we're here to be a resource to you. I know you have so many resources, and again, really appreciate how you all come together to talk with each other, because that's where you learn. So yeah, thanks for having me here. And if you are here in Oakland, come find me. And yes, one of my former colleagues, Melanie, is one of your colleagues. I worked with Melanie for a short time in Minneapolis. So hi, Melanie.
Great, good. Well, thank you, David. I'll have to add to David's piece. Thank you for the leadership of the department and the Santa Clara County Office of Education, our partners. And clearly the department is having the leadership to lead this and make CASI happen. If you want to do a quick debrief from our breakout session, what you're going to do, non-authorizers first, or you want to go back to
That's
one?
fine. That sounds good.
Okay, then I'll try to do it really quickly. There were 2 or 3 things. One, we talked about what type of template people might wish to use for the LCAP update. And Brianna made a very good suggestion that if you don't have one, you might want to check with your county office, because they may be, in fact, having something to share. And they're the ones that, are frankly the most up to speed on a lot of the stuff that relates to LCAPs and templates. There was a good discussion and some clarity about teacher to pupil ratio for non-classroom charter schools. Brianna had answered that quickly in the chat, but it may, so we capture the chat because we did that right before the switch over, but there's information there. And then we also talked a little bit about AB 1078, and I actually put our colleagues at CSBA on the spot because they just did a very good webinar on that. We did answer a few other questions. Anything else? But that's a quick update. And if I miss something, I'm sure someone in the group will quickly unmute and tell me. But otherwise, the last thing is the Jamboard didn't work for us, so we have to add some additional stuff after the meeting's over to make sure it's complete.
Thanks, Dave. All right. Let's go with the central group. Jason?
Sure, I'll be super brief. We had a quick check-in on comprehensive safety plan. Mike from Stanislaus has offered his services to the group. He's done some extensive training on safety plan development. Please reach out to him for support in that area. We also discussed mid-year update and the fact that there is not a specific template. Thanks for the additional advice, Mr. Dr. Patterson, on reaching out to your county office. There was a question on, is the authorizer the approver or just the reviewer of the document? Our understanding of the reading of it, that is the authorizer is the reviewer, their LEA board is the approver. If that's not correct, please augment that for us today. Nothing came up from Prop 39. Nothing came up on first interim on audits. There was a question about how many employees can be a member of a charter board, and Ms. Park was kind enough to give us some guidance on that, and that is in our Jamboard as well. And MIFLA captured that for the group. And that's it for Central California.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks.
Let's go to the northern region. Amanda Goldman.
Hi, everybody. So we had some great Q&A back and forth between the group. It's nice to have the same people starting to show up so we can really start to get into some questions. The big topics were came up are folks seeing schools pushing back on the timeline for renewal and wanting to submit early, and yes, many of us are seeing that and in discussions about that. There was some questions about vaccination, about reimbursements for closed schools, some questions about math framework, and the answers are all on the Jamboard. I think the big one we didn't get to was about differentiated assistance, and so that might be a topic for next time.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. Okay, Jeff Hartman, are you going to share out for the southern group region?
Yes, hi. We talked a little bit about the audits and who they went to. They end up going to usually the charter leader, and then the board accepts them. And we talked a little bit about CalSAS and how the students that are triggering the 10-to-1 ratio in TK would be seen. But basically the auditor would have to see like a roster with birth dates on it to know whether or not a particular TK room was had students that would trigger the 10-to-1 instead of 12-to-1. And we talked about some of the laws that are coming up, going into effect January 1st. And I mentioned that one of the laws has to do with schools allowed to have LVNs instead of RNs. And so they'll be able to have a nurse on site where maybe they haven't had to been able to in the past. And so if I was a charter leader, I would want to start interviewing now and get the best LVNs now that that's going to be available starting in January. So it might be something that you give a heads up to your schools that they could start looking for an LVN if they haven't been able to find an RN and have wanted one. That's basically it. That and other laws that are going to affect cursive. Talked a little bit about cursive handwriting instruction is going to be back in elementary school, grades 1 through 6, starting January 1st.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. All right, next slide, please. Michelle, I'm going to turn it over to you to do the pitch on feedback.
All right, so we do take all of your feedback very seriously, and we have really appreciated the feedback. So if you have, please go in and fill out our survey. It won't take very long. We are really looking for feedback, and we really appreciate all of your information. Next slide. So upcoming charter chat next month. Even though the slide says it's the 27th, it's actually the 29th. It is always the last Wednesday of the month. I apologize for the typo. Our January quarterly regional, we're saving the date, January 23rd, 2024. It'll be from 1 to 3 p.m. So more information will be coming on that. And then if you are looking for any support on authorizing 101, fiscal 101, even 102 or 201, or whatever information you're looking for, we are available to provide support. Next slide, please. There are also other upcoming by other organizations. CASBO is doing a Charter Schools Professional Council on charter renewals. That'll be on November 15th. And then our Charter Authorizer Connection Professional Learning, they are doing one on January 26th on charter governance and May 10th. So you can see all of this information on the resource page. Next slide. And I'll turn this over to Dave for the CCAP conference.
Okay, just a quick one on the CCAP conference. You've heard some of this before, so I'll just the highlights. It's in Irvine. It's mark your calendars for the 18th to the 21st. We will also, as we did before, be partnering with Cassie for Charter Authorizing Oversight 1 and 2. And like last year, we learned that having it in 2 half days allows us not to totally bury you into too much information. The good news is Cassie will be part of the main program during that day. It's less than a mile from John Wayne Airport. The registration isn't live yet, will be, but more important, look for the call for presentations so that we have the opportunity to have your participation and expertise as part of the conversation.
So I'm going to make another pitch for our survey. We only have 4 responses. We really need, and there were 88 people on this call. So 4 is not sufficient. We need more people to respond. Please. Please.
And it is also your opportunity to ask for some individual help. So if you and a group of people want us to travel to you, Here's your opportunity to let us know. And additionally, you can contact us at cassie@cde.ca.gov with questions and requests for information. It is 11:05. Thank you so much for sticking with us until the end. Have a great day.